The emperor was dying, and inside the silent halls of the Forbidden City, whispers moved faster than footsteps. Servants avoided eye contact. Officials lowered their voices, because everyone knew something the history books would never fully admit. When an emperor fell, real power did not fall with him. It simply shifted behind a curtain. And behind that curtain stood one woman, Empress Dowager Cixi. She was never officially emperor. She never wore the dragon robe reserved for a man. Yet for nearly half a century, China, one of the largest empires on earth, moved when she decided it should move. The question is not whether she ruled. The real question is how she ruled, and what it cost anyone who stood in her way. Cixi did not begin as royalty. She entered the palace as a concubine, one of many young women selected to serve the Xianfeng emperor. In a court filled with ambition, jealousy, and silent rivalry, most women disappeared into history. But Cixi did something different. She gave birth to a son. And in Imperial China, that changed everything. When the emperor died in 1861, her son was only 5 years old. A child cannot rule an empire, so someone had to rule for him. Officially, there were regents. Officially, there were senior officials managing affairs of state. But unofficially, every decree, every promotion, every punishment passed through her. Imagine a room filled with the most powerful men in China, bowing deeply, not to the emperor on the throne, but to the woman seated behind a silk screen. They could not even look directly at her. They heard her voice. They felt her presence. But they did not see her face. That is power. Invisible power is always the most dangerous kind. Within months of the emperor's death, Cixi outmaneuvered rival regents in what became known as a palace coup. Arrests were made. Executions followed. And just like that, the young concubine became the true center of imperial authority. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most rulers protect their throne with armies. Cixi protected hers with influence. She built networks through eunuchs, loyal officials, and strategic marriages. She mastered timing. She understood fear. And she knew that perception is stronger than force. If people believe you control everything, you already do. As her son grew older, he remained emperor in name. But major decisions were still filtered through her. Some historians argue she stabilized a collapsing dynasty. Others believe she delayed necessary reforms because change threatened her authority. But there is one event that turned political tension into pure mystery. When her son died young, the throne passed to her nephew, who became the Guangxu Emperor. At first, it seemed like history was repeating itself. A young emperor, guided by the same powerful aunt. But as he matured, Guangxu began to think differently. China was falling behind Western powers. Foreign armies had forced humiliating treaties on the empire. Reformers urged modernization, new schools, new military systems, new political structures. And in 1898, the emperor attempted something bold. Sweeping reforms that would reduce conservative control within the court. In other words, reforms that reduced her control. For one brief moment, it appeared the young emperor might step out of the shadow. And then suddenly everything changed. The reforms were crushed. The emperor was placed under house arrest inside his own palace. Not executed, not dethroned, just silenced. For 10 years, he lived as a prisoner within the walls of the Forbidden City. An emperor who could not rule. A dragon caged in silk. Officially, Cixi had stepped back from power more than once. Unofficially, she always returned. And then came the final chapter, the part that still unsettles historians, that in November 1908, the Guangxu Emperor fell ill. His condition deteriorated rapidly. One day later, he was dead. The following day, Cixi also died. 2 deaths, 24 hours apart. For decades, it was recorded as natural causes. But in 2008, modern forensic testing revealed extremely high levels of arsenic in Guangxu's remains. Enough to kill him. Arsenic is not an accident. It is deliberate. It requires access. It requires intent. And it requires someone who benefits. Who benefited from the emperor's death. The same woman who had controlled the throne for decades. Now, let's be very careful here. There is no written confession. No official document ordering poison. History rarely provides villains who sign their own guilt. But timing is powerful. If the emperor had outlived her, he would have finally ruled freely. If he regained authority, he could have undone decades of influence. Instead, he died first. Then she followed him into history. Coincidence? Or calculation? Here's what makes this story so compelling. Cixi was not a caricature villain. She was intelligent. She was politically brilliant. She navigated rebellions, foreign invasions, economic crisis, and internal decay. She negotiated with Western powers. She suppressed uprisings. She preserved the Qing Dynasty far longer than many believed possible. Without her, the empire might have collapsed earlier. But here's the deeper question. Did she preserve the empire, or preserve herself? When the Boxer Rebellion exploded in 1900, anti-foreign militants attacked missionaries and diplomats. Initially, she supported them, declaring war on foreign powers. When the Eight-Nation Alliance invaded Beijing and the Imperial court fled, the gamble failed. Suddenly, her stance shifted. Negotiations followed. Heavy indemnities were imposed. China paid a devastating price. Was that desperation, miscalculation, or political survival instinct at its sharpest? Great leaders are often described in extremes, hero or villain. But the most fascinating rulers live in the gray. Cixi ruled from behind curtains, through whispers instead of proclamations. She understood that real power does not always need a title. It needs leverage. It needs timing. It needs control of information. And for nearly 50 years, she controlled the flow of empire. Imagine the psychological strength required to sit behind a screen while emperors bowed to you. Imagine making decisions that affected millions while remaining officially secondary. Imagine living in a court where one wrong move meant execution, and not just surviving but dominating it. That is not luck. That is strategic mastery. But mastery always leaves shadows. The Qing Dynasty eventually fell just 3 years after her death. The imperial system ended. China entered revolution and transformation. Some argue she delayed modernization too long. Others argue she bought precious time in an impossible era. But regardless of perspective, one fact remains undeniable. She shaped the fate of a civilization while never claiming the throne outright. That's the paradox. She never called herself emperor. She never publicly seized supreme authority. And yet, from 1861 to 1908, nothing significant happened in the empire without passing through her influence. That is not symbolic power. That is real power. So when you hear the phrase Shadow Queen, understand what it truly means. It means ruling without the crown. It means controlling kings. It means making history from behind silk walls where no one dares speak your name too loudly. And maybe, just maybe, it means ensuring that if anyone tries to step out of your shadow, they never get the chance. History does not always remember women who ruled. But in this case, it cannot ignore her. Because even now, over a century later, we are still asking the same question. Was she the savior of a dying dynasty, or the architect of its final decline? The answer depends on who is telling the story. But one thing is certain, she was never just a regent. She was never just a consort. She was never just an advisor. She was the power behind the throne. And if stories like this fascinate you, the hidden rulers, the untold strategies, the moments history tried to simplify but couldn't, then this channel is where you belong. We don't just repeat dates and names. We uncover the shadows behind them. We research, we dig, we reconstruct the tension, the psychology, the decisions that changed empires. And it takes serious work to bring these stories to life in a way that makes you feel like you're standing inside the palace yourself. So if you want more powerful, untold stories like this, subscribe now. Because the next ruler we uncover might make this Shadow Queen look almost gentle.